Welcome to the Community Producers. I'm Ryan Mennie, local radio personality here in Lethbridge. The Community Producers is a program that showcases stories and segments made by volunteers and community members right here in Southern Alberta. In the first segment, the City of Lethbridge takes us on a tour of the new ATB Centre Phase 2 construction project.
Welcome to the ATB Centre Phase 2, future home of the Corvan Ray YMCA. Approximately $110 million, 256,000 square feet for this leisure centre, and it's going to be a great destination for the visitors to Lethbridge and the residents too. The city will own this facility, and it's going to be operated by the YMCA, and it's attached to the ATB Centre Phase 1, which has 2 NHL-size ice surfaces and 10 sheets of curling. So let's head inside and take a look at what's inside with the construction crew.
So we're currently standing at the south end of the Galleria space, which will be the main entrance into Phase 2. Behind me here is where the reception desk will be, where you'll come and gain access into the fieldhouse and aquatic side of the facility. You'll see that there's lots of glass in here, lots of natural light. And the interesting thing about the glass is it's a dimmable glass. It's called view dynamic, which allows you to create shading and gives the building an energy efficiency. Okay, so we're currently standing in the large fieldhouse space, which is split up into 2 distinct areas. So this east side will have 3 large gymnasium areas, and the opposite side, the west side, will be more of an open fieldhouse where a variety of sports will be able to be played. There'll be curtains in here with that we'll be able to divide the spaces into 6 small spaces if necessary, or have it open as 1 large space. Currently we've got a lot of work happening in here. We're getting our floors leveled off. We've got our big ductwork in the space already. The steel has been painted. And as you can see, the running track above the field house is taking shape as well. Currently looking down at the aquatic space from the fitness area. On our far right here, you can see the stair tower for the water slide. That's how you'll access the water slides. Below that is the disturbed water area. Attached to the disturbed water area is also going to be a lazy river towards the south, and a teaching pool as well on the east side of the disturbed water pool. There's a large whirlpool in this area here, kind of in the middle along this column line. And then to our left, as you move east, there's a 6-lane, 25-meter lap pool. And what you can see coming together at the south end there is the surf simulator tank. Okay, so we're currently standing up on level 2 at the north end of the Galleria space. So as you can imagine, this is a very large project with a lot of things happening. So some of the spaces that we didn't see during our tour are an indoor playground space. You also have an outdoor playground space, some child care and child mining spaces. We've got change rooms next to the field house and aquatics areas. We also have some lease spaces available. Of course, storage rooms and mechanical rooms behind the scenes, and a lot of things happening. So that's the tour of the inside. Let's move back outside.
During the design of ATB Phase 2, we toured many facilities throughout Alberta, and just to learn what worked good and what they would do differently within the facilities. Some of the things that we incorporated into this was a larger fitness area, more storage for the aquatics area, the fitness area, and the field house. Also the running track upstairs. We increased the lane width a little bit there so you can incorporate strollers, wheelchairs, things like that. And we're looking forward to this opening in 2019.
Obviously, we know that vitamin D, like we were talking about before, is the carrier of calcium that actually takes the calcium to the bones. So just sort of a recap and why we want to talk about calcium a little bit is, first of all, it doesn't necessarily have to be dairy. And we need calcium in our organs every single day to operate. So the calcium is needed in all of your organs on a day-to-day basis, and if they can't get it from the intake that you're taking orally, then they will take it from the bones. However, vitamin D needs to carry that calcium to the bones. That being said, you can only take 500 milligrams of calcium at one given time in order for it to be absorbed into the bones. So often people will start their day thinking, I'm going to take my multivitamin with the calcium in it. They're going to have a glass of milk, they're going to have a bowl of cereal and maybe some yogurt. They've taken in too much calcium at that point, so then it is more susceptible to go into the bloodstream. And in that case, and actually even into the urine. So then you end up peeing it out, or it goes into your bloodstream. And then in that case, it can cause some plaques in the bloodstream. And that's kind of where we started to hear some issues with heart health a few years ago. So our aha moment for everybody with calcium is to make sure that 500 milligrams at one time, if you can, take it away from food, a supplement. But for the most part, you'll take in the calcium in your daily diet. It doesn't necessarily have to be dairy. Like I said, it can be green leafy vegetables, it can be broccoli, it can be almonds, it can be tofu, it can be sardines. It can be lots of different things. Like calcium's really easy to get in the diet, and why I say to take it away from food is because at the end of the day, you can kind of evaluate what you've taken for calcium, right? You can kind of look at it and think, boy, I've taken in almost all of it, and maybe you could just take, have a little piece of cheese or something to top it up instead of having to take a supplement. And also too, then that way you have a better idea of whether you need to supplement. Supplements also, if you're looking at taking one, you can take calcium carbonate or calcium citrate. Both of them are very valuable. But look on the back of it and it'll say elemental calcium. And that will actually tell you the true amount of calcium. The one other tip I wanted to give you too is that a lot of our food sources now show that the daily intake of calcium is in percentage. So it'll say on the back of your yogurt, it'll say 10% of your daily intake. And a lot of our foods are like that now. It says your percentage of daily intake as opposed to milligrams. So if it says 10%, say, you just add a 0 to that. So you know there's 100 milligrams of calcium in that yogurt or whatever you're eating. So that's just kind of a good way to just kind of take a look and think, what am I taking in? And if you evaluate it at the end of the day, supplement, and you could probably do that through nutrition instead of having to take a vitamin. We want to make sure that we're taking in 1,200 milligrams of calcium every day. So like I said, only 500 milligrams at one time, but 1,200 throughout the day for an adult. And you're looking at about 2 to 3 servings in a day for the most part. It depends on what you're taking in, but if you're having a full 8-ounce glass of milk, you're looking at about 80 milligrams. So you can probably, kind of gauge from that. The biggest thing is that people don't think they're taking in enough, so they're always just supplementing when really they probably are getting it in through their nutrition first and foremost. So really, calcium isn't one that we push to supplement at all. Most people get that in through their diet. The one thing that we do say that you have to do is the vitamin D. And the one thing also that we want to remember about calcium and the benefits of bone health is the fact that I guess why they push towards the dairy industry so much is because oftentimes there is some protein in the dairy. And so then you're getting the calcium and the protein together. But not everybody can take in dairy easily. And with that being said, that's fine. I mean, we have lots of programs and resources here for individuals that are lactose intolerant that still can actually look and see how to access calcium without using dairy.
Another distraction. It's just you guys. Hello, Shaw TV audience. My name's Aaron Chubb. I'm the learning strategist here at the Student Success Center. Just doing some studying here. It can be tricky trying to find a good study spot. It's balancing something that's going to be not too distracting, that gives you space to work, to be able to work on stuff. There's a couple tips that I always give students when it comes to finding a good study space. You want to find something with a table that you can lay out your materials, that it is not too crowded. So a computer desk that is completely taken up, there's no spot for a textbook, might not be the best location, or so making room on that desk or finding something else. You don't want as many distractions as you can when you're doing your studying. I'm going to take my phone and put it aside here, because even though it's turned off, it's still going to give me a bit of a reminder that I could be checking the phone instead of studying. So I'll put that to the side. I've already eaten. I'm going to try not to eat while I'm studying, because it might be, again, more of a distraction. So I've taken care of that. I'm able to focus now. I think the coffee I should be okay with. It won't be too much of a distraction. In fact, it might actually help a little bit. And of course, earplugs can be quite useful as well if you're in a busy area, whether you're at home and there's people watching TV in the background, or whether you're at the school. Throwing in a pair of earplugs can definitely help reduce those noises. And I'm definitely not going to be listening to any music with lyrics, at least. I'll just end up singing along inside my head. Music without lyrics can be okay, depending on the task that you're doing. Kind of assess for yourself, am I able to concentrate with that music on or not. I find if I'm doing readings, I usually like to have music off. If I'm doing busy work, sometimes I'll have some quiet music without lyrics on in the background. The time certainly makes a difference as well. If it's during the day, I like to go to the library. I try and avoid studying at home too much. It's just easier to, turn on the TV and watch Family Feud or whatever, or Shaw TV. So I'm going to probably go to the library during the day. In the evening, I might be able to get away with studying at home. But I'm going to avoid that computer as long as I can, because there's just so many distractions on that computer. I'm going to do as much as I can with pen and paper. I might make a list of things that I'll be researching on the computer later, things that I have to do on the computer, and do those all in one batch, so that I'm not on the computer all day and getting distracted on different social media platforms. Finally, if I do end up on the computer later on and I'm doing some research for a paper or trying to clarify some different terms, looking them up online, I'm going to be trying to find a way to keep myself focused on what I'm doing. Having that list will help, so I'm not getting distracted, and I can bring myself back to that list. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be on that, I'm not supposed to be on Instagram. Or coming up with different solutions like apps that you can download, like Forest app or Self-Control or Stay Focused, apps that will allow me to block the sites that I don't want to be going on while I'm studying, so that I'm able to concentrate and get this reading done. For Shaw TV and the Student Success Center here at the University of Lethbridge, I'm Aaron Chubb.
I'm Officer Skylar Plord with Lethbridge Animal Services. You're watching Pet Talk on Community Producers. Today we're going to visit with some adoptable pets at the animal shelter. We're also going to talk about pet licensing for the city of Lethbridge. Lucy is a young adult who was found as a stray in October and was never claimed. This pretty cat has a very big personality and would love to be in a new forever home. Lucy has been spayed and vaccinated. This girl was found at large on the north side and was never claimed. Her name is Babes, and she is about 5 years old. She's very sweet and looking for a loving, patient, forever home. Babes has been vaccinated and spayed. Mazakine was found as a stray on Kodiak Boulevard in January. Mazakine is a young female who's very curious and playful. This gorgeous lady has been spayed and vaccinated. If you're interested in any of these little critters or the other animals available at the shelter, you can stop by in person. You can also give us a call at 320-4099 or check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Lethbridge Animal Services. And remember, you can share the stories, photos, and videos of all our adoptable pets using the hashtag #OptToAdoptYQL. Pet licensing is the foundation of responsible pet ownership. The City of Lethbridge Dog Control Bylaw requires all dogs over the age of 6 months to be registered and renewed yearly. All dog license renewals are due by January 31st, and as of the 1st of February, those who are found in care and control of an unlicensed dog are subject to a $150 fine. Dog licensing ranges in price from $50 to a discounted price of $20 for pets that have been spayed and microchipped. The city also offers a voluntary cat licensing program for a one-time fee of $10. You can register and renew your pet's license at City Hall, the City Animal Shelter, or online at lethbridge.ca/online services. If you have any questions about pet licensing, you can give us a call at 403-320-4099 or check out lethbridge.ca/pet licensing.
Patrick Sidlecki returns this month with his Lethbridge Hurricane segment, Kane's Watch.
The Lethbridge Hurricanes are a different-looking team heading into the Western Hockey League stretch run. General Manager Peter Anholt pulling off a number of trades before January's deadline, one of them a blockbuster deal with the Swift Current Broncos. Getting rid of players like Stuart Skinner and Giorgio Estevan wasn't easy, but the Hurricanes got a lot in return as the club builds as well for the future.
I think when you look at how everything kind of came about, the Riddle for Morrison deal kind of set us up for maybe looking at some other things, and then as we got closer to the deadline, we had some communication with Swift Current, and once they mentioned Logan Barloghi in the equation, that opened up the door for more talks. And so really in getting Fliddell back in the deal, we felt that, with Morrison and Fliddell that we at least evened ourselves off as far as this year goes. I don't think we really hurt ourselves a lot. And I think when you look at this year's team, of course, and then looking to the future, you had Barloghi in with the other 01s in our depth chart, plus Cousins. We feel that that's a pretty good age group to build around, and you can add Addison in that group too as a 2000 birthday, and some of our 02. So we think it's a pretty good age group for us, but ultimately they have to improve and be good players for us in the future.
Some Hurricanes fans weren't happy with seeing some of these players dealt away and suggested maybe the team was cashing in its chips for the season. But it's been anything but that, as the Canes have remained a very competitive group. Anholt knows it's about getting to the playoffs and seeing how things shake down from there.
It's an easy way to look at it, I think. But I think when you drill a little bit deeper and where we're at with our division, we felt that as long as we keep getting some points from here on in to the rest of the year, I think we're solid in a playoff spot. And if we can just have a real strong finish here to the season, and then who knows what happens come playoff time and where you're seated and so on. So, it just there was kind of a unique situation per se. I mean, the East was very, very strong. The Central not quite as strong as far as the division goes, and we felt we were comfortable in that position. And then we'll just play it by ear from there. But we felt Fliddell has had really good numbers over the last number of years, so he's really solid as far as a goaltender goes. And Morrison's a real talented player, and so as long as we can, hopefully just keep moving along and getting better as a group, we think that we should be at least okay.
The trade of Giorgio Estevan left a hole in the Hurricanes' leadership group. However, Jordy Bellerive was quickly given the task to fill the captain's role. Anholt believes the 18-year-old is the right player to lead this group for the rest of the season and beyond.
I think when you look at it, not only did we move out Giorgio, which was a hard deal, and Stewie was a big leader on our team, but you also add into that Ryan Vandervlis. Losing him for the season was a real blow to our leadership. So we had to make some adjustments with that, and I've said this before, and I really believe this, is that basically when we took over a number of years ago, we turned the team over to an 18-year-old Tyler Wong and a 17-year-old Giorgio Estevan, and basically we're doing that now again with Jordy Bellerive. And I think that he's a signed NHL player, and he's a premier player in our league. So I think that he's an obvious choice to lead our hockey club.
For the community producers, I'm Pat Sidlecki.
Up next, Constable Kara Hagan finds out more about the Priority Crimes Unit at the Lethbridge Police Service.
It's Constable Hagan with Cop Beat, and on this segment of Cop Beat, I'm actually going to interview Sergeant Smallbones. Sergeant Smallbones is in charge of our Priority Crimes Unit, so thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome.
And we're just going to ask you a little bit of what your unit does and how your unit benefits the community. So I guess we're just going to start with, what is Priority Crimes Unit?
Well, Priority Crimes Unit is made up of two different units. One is the high-risk offender unit, and the other one is the proper crimes unit. Within that, we monitor, with parole, we monitor the parolees in the city, and that's usually ranging from about 50 to 55 parolees. And those offenses are ranging from drug, property, all the way up to murder. Then on top of that, we also help with the RCMP sex offender registry, so we assist with the RCMP on that. And then from there, we also, all the more major high-risk people that come into the city, we monitor and put things into place for that. And then on top of all that, we monitor the property crime that's going on in the city and all the property crime trends. We have an attitude that there's probably 10 to 15% of the population that's committing about 80% of our crime. So our focus is to target that 10 to 15% of people.
Okay, great. And what would you say in the past 6 months have been the biggest crimes being committed by these 10 to 15% of the population?
I would say stolen vehicles is a big thing that we've been seeing, and not only myself, as well as some of the other agencies. Stolen vehicles, those stolen vehicles are being used to commit break-and-enters and further crimes. And also on top of that, they're also being used to be re-vended and sold through Kijiji and other means.
Okay. And now, can you just give us a quick brief overall? Obviously, you've talked to us on how your unit specifically targets these certain offenders and stuff, but what is the overall that the regular member of the public is going to notice that your unit specifically does for them?
Usually if we have success, you'll see the crime rate start to go down. If you're having a problem with stolen vehicles, a specific one, you'll see that kind of end or slow. And that's where you'll see if we got the car prowlers out a certain area, our idea is to reevaluate the trends once we've done arrests to see if those are declined. Again, not only with the community here, we're very active because the criminals we've been noticing as a trend are not only focusing on the city, they're focusing on the rural areas, so it's becoming more apparent for us to communicate more with the RCMP detachments in the outer lying area, as well as Calgary Police and Medicine Hat. So we sit and have monthly meetings with some of those agencies to see what their crime trends are, because some of those crime trends will mimic our crime trends, and as a result from that, as a group, we'll kind of figure out who's committing those.
So Sergeant Smallbones, it's my understanding that you guys have kind of shifted the way you do things and in this unit and kind of got with the times a little bit. Can you explain what benefit or what amount of seizure you guys have had in this last year, if you're aware of those numbers?
Yeah, in the last few years, we've seen the property crime double as a result of with the targeted approach we've been doing. The charge rates within our unit have gone from about 200 charges a year, 250 up to 600 to 700 charges a year. Last year, the guys in my unit worked extremely hard, and they recovered $1.1 million in stolen property. They recovered another $70,000 in drugs. I think they laid around 630 charges. And again, a lot of that as well is working with our patrol officers as well, getting the information out to them to know who's committing the crimes. And again, we receive a lot from our patrol officers hand in hand and our analysts that are helping us to determine how and where to target.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Sergeant Smallbones. And I hope that you as the community are a little bit more aware as to what our Priority Crimes Unit can do for you.
This is our 25th year of the Stars Lottery. We're offering over 3,000 prizes, one of which is this beautiful home in Canyon Estates. It's on 119 Canyon Estates Way West in Lethbridge. And it's called the Jenna Michelle by Van Arbor Homes. It's a home that celebrates the turn of the century craftsman design. And it's got lovely amenities of modern living. This includes a home theater room. It's got built-in custom bar, butler's pantry that's hidden, and it's just a great way to entertain. It's got a lot of understated elegance and with really great attention to detail. The reason the lottery is so important is because it is Stars' largest fundraising initiative. It brings in almost $11 million net. To put that into perspective, It takes about that much money to run a STARS base for an entire year, so 1/3 of our operating costs in Alberta. STARS flies a number of missions across the province, Lethbridge being one of our most frequently visited communities. 74 missions just to Lethbridge last year. If you put that into perspective, that's 74 people, families, co-workers, friends whose lives were affected by that critical life-saving mission. To get your tickets, you can call 1-888-880-0992. You can log on to starslotteryalberta.ca, or you can visit the show home in Lethbridge at 119 Canyon Estates Way West, Lethbridge.
Are you trying to stick to a fitness routine as a New Year's resolution? Dustin from the YWCA is here to help.
The biggest things that people will run into when they're trying any new endeavor is to find that things are really quite challenging. And so things that are really, really hard can, by default, be kind of deflating. And so if you work to make fitness a little bit easier on yourself, that can go a long way to making it have more sticking power, so to speak. So if you're trying really hard to just like hit it 5 days a week, but you're not currently doing anything, that's probably not gonna work out. Whereas if you're more realistically like, okay, maybe 3 times a week for even 10 minutes, we're finding that obviously more exercises is better, but any exercise is better than no exercise. So starting out with something realistic. Say just stick it out. It doesn't last too long. Just keep coming, keep going, and be a good example for everybody else.
My name's Brown McMaster, and you're here at my solo traveling exhibition titled Confluence. And so this, exhibition comprises 3 different bodies of work that I've done over the past 7 years, and they all, kind of branch off from a lot of the major themes that I deal with, or that I like to talk about within my work, which is how we construct our sense of self through specifically lineage, history, and culture. And also I look at, my work comes from a very personal place, so kind of within those major themes, I also talk very personally about my mixed cultural background. So I'm Plains Cree, member of the Siksika First Nations, and I also have British and Dutch ancestry. So my work also kind of looks at sometimes the conflict and the synergy around these two kind of conflicting histories and how I fit in between them and understand myself. And so a lot of my work comes at those questions within kind of this dreamlike imagery. The work also within the exhibition showcases also, you know, my built kind of sculptural garments or objects that I create, kind of in, you know, to build layers on these dreamlike images. So each of the different props that are within the images I create alone in my studio. So it takes several months for me to make all these different, you know, things before I actually photograph them. And so yeah, so you can kind of see this within the work here within the exhibition, and again, they just, you know, talk, you know, each object within the image builds on those layers and brings out those questions that I ask myself of my own identity, and also on you know, talk about our broader collective identity and how we come through that. Always been, I mean, my family's always held or told stories of my ancestors to me from both sides, and so genealogy was a really important aspect of my childhood growing up, and so I think that always stayed with me up until when I started creating art and wanting to ask, you know, and explore those deeper questions of who I am, and you know, specifically looking at that heritage. And I think that ever since I was young, I knew, you know, the difficult history of both sides of my ancestry, and that always created conflict within me of how do I understand myself between these two very different histories. And so I think those are questions that I still, you know, struggle with even today as an adult, but in different ways from when I was young. And you know, I think that my work doesn't try to answer those questions. It's really to start those conversations and help me and maybe others to kind of look at, you know, maybe those tougher questions and fill in those gaps within ourselves. Definitely can see my progression from my most earlier works, from my ancestral series, where it basically takes place in a more controlled studio environment, to where I now mostly photograph, which is outdoors in a definitely more unpredictable kind of environment. So you can kind of see that projection or that change, I guess, through my work, and also, yeah, definitely within the ideas, I've definitely seen a growth. All my bodies of work usually stem from a time and a place where I am when I'm thinking about the ideas. So there's definitely kind of a progression into, you can kind of see when you walk through the exhibition of ideas that I was playing with within that moment of those couple years.
Well, that does it for another episode of The Community Producers. I'm Ryan Mennie. If you have any segment or story ideas, please email shawtv.lethbridge@sjrb.ca. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.